guys, what is going on? Welcome back to another video. In this video I'm going to talk to you about this car, the Abarth 124 Spider, why it's so underrated and why there's huge potential as well. Firstly, before we do anything, I have to say a massive thank you to everyone who supported me in the last video. And everybody who subscribed since then, you guys are amazing. The comment section literally blew me away. Just as much as driving this car with the roof down when the sun's out, it is genuinely an incredible feeling. The noise from the Monza just sounds sensational. Just listen to it. Flipping Nora. Unreal. Now, the other thing that I wanted to touch on is my private plate is finally on the car. As you can see, we've got S8BTV on the car. That is, I guess, short for Stef ABtv, SABTV, and it is, I guess, the first modification I have done to my Abarth 124 Spider. Now, if you look at the 595 platform, 595 platform or 500 platform is the car, it's the choice that everybody tends to go for, and there's a reason for that. One, it's the most accessible because they don't make this car anymore. Two, you've got so many more options from a modification standpoint than you do on the 124 Spider, because when this first came out, there wasn't much you could do to these. Even now, you know, there's not as much as you can do on the 595 platform. However, more and more people are starting to do things to these cars, which is epic. I've already started to do a bit of research, as you do as a new car owner, and actually the possibilities you can do to this are quite big. I mean, there's a lot of opportunity with this car. I mean, you look at the Puntos. You look at Punto, they run the multi-air engine as well, and you've seen some pretty spectacular Puntos with regards to power performance. The other reason why I think this car is quite underrated as well is because when it was launched, Top Gear basically gave this car a review that put a few people off, which is a shame. I remember Matt LeBlanc doing this video on the 124 Spider and saying it's an MX-5 and you're better off going for the MX-5, which, that's his opinion, and I'm sure there'll be MX-5 owners who agree and there'll be Abarth owners who disagree. Now you fast forward a little bit, and Richard Hammond in the Grand Tour drove this car and said that he preferred the 124 Spider to the MX-5. Now, let's not hide away from the fact that a lot of this car is Mazda MX-5. They've taken the best parts from Mazda, and you can't shun that. The chassis is great, but they put an Abarth engine in it. And we all know when you throw an Abarth engine into something, you get the sound, you get the character. This car, handling-wise, is mega. It is so good. You've got that 50-50 weight distribution on this car. It feels brilliant to throw around the corners. As I said, the gearbox is great. The seating position is 100 times better than that on the 595 platform. And owners of 595s will say, yeah, I can see where he's coming from. Because the 595 platform, the steering wheel is very tilted forward. It almost feels like a bit of a bus steering wheel. The seating position is very high. You almost feel like you're sitting on top of the car as opposed to sitting inside the car. Whereas this car has a little bit more of an adult feeling, I think is the right way to say it. And that doesn't take anything away from the 595. I love that car. You know, I've got the 695. Well, there's a video on that coming very shortly, but you know, the 695 is still a phenomenal car, and I'm not taking anything away from that. And I'm not just saying that because I've got a Spider and I'm shunning the 595. Hell no, I love that platform, and so do, and there's a reason why it sells so well. But this does feel a little bit more adult in the sense that you get more mod cons, you get cruise control, you get heated seats in this car. You don't get that in the 595. Now, the other element as well is why people obviously go for the 595 is it's more practical, because you've got 4 or 5 seats in it. You've got a bigger boot than you do in this car. Although this isn't too bad, the boot is surprisingly deceiving. It's much bigger than my Alfa Romeo 4C boot. I've got storage space behind the rear seats, which I only found out recently. I thought there wasn't any until someone pointed it out to me, which is brilliant. You've got the storage cubby hole here as well. So really, for what this car is, and it's, you know, it's a sporty roadster, you do get a lot of car for the money, and the noise is just sensational. Now, why I think this is underrated is because when you start to really look at the facts and the figures on this car, and you look at the potential of it as well, particularly now that people are unlocking stuff, this car weighs 1,060 kilos. And it has a power to weight ratio of around 160 horsepower per ton. My old Alfa Romeo 4C weighed around 900 kgs and had a power to weight ratio of 244 bhp per ton. A BMW M2 Competition has a power to weight ratio of 260 bhp per ton because of the increased weight. You can see where I'm going with this now. In order to make this feel as fast as my Alfa Romeo 4C, all I need to do is get this to about 250 to 260 horsepower. It will then feel just as quick. The Garrett 1446 Turbo has great spools, so really potentially maybe something like a hybrid 1446 could be an option. TD04 is also an option, but I need to figure out what route I'm going to go down. That is my goal for this car, in case you haven't figured it out. It won't happen all at once, but I want this car to run and feel similar to my 4C did. There you go. I have rear wheel drive and an LSD. I think more than 250, 260 is going to be really difficult to control this thing. It would need much wider tyres, but that will all come, and it's a great little project and I'm super excited for it. So people need to drive this car more, and I also think that now that they don't make these cars, I think they might become more desirable when people start to actually realise that there is tunability for them and you can do things to them, and people are bringing, you know, new exhausts, body kits, spoilers, you know, front diffusers. All of that stuff is coming. But most importantly, the reason why people didn't really gel with this car and kind of it never reached its true potential was because of that Euro 6 ECU that, you know, a lot of people found it really difficult to tune. Now, that's still the case. However, there are companies such as Multi-Air Tuning and Developments in Greece who are starting to unlock a lot more in this car. They've done it with the Punto. It's pretty much the same thing. So it begs the question, if they can do 300, 340 horsepower out of a Punto, why can't they do it out of a 124 Spider? Now, the other thing, I genuinely feel that this car is so exciting to drive. Literally, it's so exciting to drive. It brings so much character to the table. Even though it has that Mazda bloodline, it still feels very much Abarth. You know, when I drive the 595 or a 695, it leaves me smiling from ear to ear. This does exactly the same, and in elements it actually does it a bit more. The reason being is you're more exposed to the elements with the roof down. You have that twitchy rear end, the rear wheel drive with the LSD. That makes a big difference, and of course it's just super fun. It is super fun, and it handles so well. Honestly, you have to drive one to really understand how good the handling is. Now, there are a few things on here where I think the 595 platform is better. So the infotainment system on the 595 I think is much better than on this one, if I'm honest with you. It is still a touchscreen. It does have everything that you need it to. It has a Bluetooth, etc. But what this lacks, it should have had Apple CarPlay. And now when you start to think that Abarth stopped making this, the firmware updates on these cars just disappeared. There was no real aftermarket development put into this. But this is the other beauty with having a Mazda platform, is that you can fit the Mazda hardware, Mazda firmware, and you can have Apple CarPlay. And I'm doing exactly that, because that, for me, Apple CarPlay in this, I think will transform this car, because I love Apple CarPlay. I live and stand by it, and I can't live without it, as do most people. And it's a modification which is a little bit tedious to do, but thankfully Bradley, who also has a 124, is going to help me out. We're going to do a video on it too. I'm really hoping that the content I'm going to produce on this over time will bring a lot more awareness to the 124 platform and make people think twice about it, because visually it is beautiful. With a few modifications, it will just look sensational. This car attracts so much attention, like so much attention, particularly with this kind of Turin white with heritage pack and the red accents. You don't see many of them. You have the rarity factor in this as well, which is wicked. But that's a quick little summary. And again, guys, thank you so much for all the support on this car. It's insane. Make sure to subscribe if you haven't done already. I will be making a lot more content on this. If you are a company out there and you want to get involved and, you know, help me out with the build of this car, and obviously I'll support you with advertising, then please let me know. You know, either drop me a message on Instagram or send me an email to stefabtv@gmail.com. I'd love to hear from you guys. But anyway, that's the end of this video. Short and sweet. I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you so much. I'll see you all very soon on the next video. See you later, guys. Bye bye.